Wardrum Bat Rips, The Sins of War.
Welcome to Wardrum Bat Rips, and this is time for something just a little bit different than we normally do. This is a review on the brand spanking new Warband from Warhammer Underworlds, the Gorechosen of Dromm. Now these guys are insanely cool. If you're a fan of Chaos and you're a fan of Khorne, these guys are right up your alley. And the one thing that this game system has been sorely lacking is a really kick-ass Chaos Warband. Well, that wait's over, because these guys are here and they mean business, and they are, from my opponent's reactions, reasonably scary. So I'm going to share with you today my thoughts on them, my feelings on how they sit in the meta. I'm going to show you my favourite ploys, my favourite upgrades, and my favourite objectives for this warband. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the cards, I'm going to show you their normal side, their inspired side, and then we'll get into my favourite cards. So here we go, here are the three men in question: Dromm, Gorehulk, and Skullgrinder Herax. As you can already see from their stat lines, they are 5 wounds, 5 wounds, and 4 wounds, and they are tough. The enrage ability on Dromm is really nice, adding a little spice to some charges. The blood chains on Herax comes in really handy if you don't want to get in too close. And the throttle ability on Gorehulk is really good for his secondary attack, which is on hammers instead of swords like the first one. First one does nice damage, but harder to hit. Second one does little damage, but easier to hit, and you get the throttle ability by removing a blood tithe counter. The blood tithe ability is the same on all of them. If they take damage or deal damage, they get a blood tithe counter, and you can do some fun stuff with blood tithe counters, which I'll show you in a minute. So here is the inspired side of Dromm, Herax, and Gorehulk. As you can see, they all move up to 4 movement per guy. As for Dromm goes up from 2 attacks on hammers to 3 attacks on swords, and has Grievous on his weapon. Herax, not much changes on Herax. He gets an extra damage, and that's about it. As for the big changes, it's Gorehulk. Gorehulk gets an extra wound, taking up to 6 wounds. He also has an extra attack dice on each of his profiles, and he gets Ensnare on his second set of attacks, the smaller one of the two. So he takes an already beastie warband to a new level. So I will show you my favourite cards from this warband. So I'm going to start with the ploys for my favourite parts of the cards of this warband. The ploys have got some really strong cards. I'm not going to show you them all, I'm just going to show you my absolute favourites. Starting with Domain of Wrath. Domain of Wrath is a domain prayer, so what it does is basically when activated, fighters must make a charge action if they can. The effect persists until the end of the next activation or until another domain gambit is played. However, when you play the spell, if you remove a blood tithe counter from Dromm, that effect will persist until the end of the entire turn or until another domain spell is played on top of it. That is super strong, and it doesn't just affect your fighters, it affects all fighters on the board. So all fighters, if they can charge, must charge. And if you've played this game enough, you know how strong that is, because some warbands do not want to charge at all. So if they're within range of a charge, they have to charge. It's super strong. Moving on to my second favourite ploy from this warband. Again, it's another domain prayer, and you'll see a theme. These domain prayers in this warband are very strong. This is Domain of Fury. Same thing as again, except this time without charging. It is if a fighter would make a begin a move action, that move cannot end further away from the closest enemy fighter. So if it assists till the end of the next activation, or if you remove a blood tithe counter, it will last for the whole round or until a domain prayer another spell is played on top of it. So again, this is very strong. It's super strong in situational play, but generally it's just really strong, because you don't, when you're with this playing this warband, you don't want people moving away. You want them right next to you so you can smack them and keep smacking them and keep smacking them. You don't want them getting driven back or moving away, or you want them as close as possible so you can hit them and they can hit you, and you can get blood tithe counters and you can do crazy stuff. That's what you want. So this allows you, and in a situational play, if you've got an enemy fighter equally distant away from 2 of your fighters, you can pin that fighter, because it can't move away from either of you. So it's got to move it can move as long as it stays this equal distance away from you. It's trapped. It's super strong in that situation. But I just love it because again, it's one of those ones where it's like it fights everybody. You just have to do it. So it is brilliant. Last on the ploys, but by no means least on the ploys, is Overhead Smash. Now this is restricted to Gorehulk and Gorehulk alone. However, if you look at what it can do, it is insanely cool. You play this on only a power step following your activation. You cannot play it in the last power step of the round. Makes sense. Choose a fighter adjacent to a friendly Gorehulk. At the start of the next activation, deal 2 damage to the chosen fighter if they are adjacent to friendly Gorehulk. When this card deals damage, you can remove a Blood Tithe counter, and instead of doing 2 damage, it does 3 damage. Now, if someone has charged you, like in connection with that Domain Prayer, and they cannot move away from you, that's super strong. Gorehulk, in fact, can one-shot using this spell Kynan if he's got another attack through from him. So he does 3 base from his normal attack. If he does that and then he does Overhead Smash after having been charged, he can do up to 6 damage, which is enough to kill Mayor Kynan in 1 hit, which I thought was quite cool. But yeah, it's again, if you have a way of pushing someone away from him, you can protect them, but it's still a very, very strong ploy. Moving on now to my favourite objectives. There's not any objectives in this set that I thought were particularly amazing, but they're all very synergistic and very fun. I just picked out 3 that I really liked and ones I have scored while playing with them in testing. So yeah, I will show you them just now. So starting off my favourite objectives with Glorious Battle. Now the picture tells you 1,000 stories. It's fantastic. It's just what you want to see from a Khorne Warband, and the quotation, a fine day to die. Khorne doesn't care who dies as long as someone dies and there's lots of blood. They're not fussy. So score this in the end phase if 4 or more fighters each have 1 or more charge tokens and or 1 or more Blood Tithe counters. Now if you use this in the connection with the earlier spell for forcing everyone to charge, this is super easy to get, and for 2 glory in a warband that doesn't have a lot of high scoring objectives, this is really easy to achieve. Here is number 2 in my favourite objectives. Worshipped in Battle. Khorne cares little for prayers that are not screamed aloud on the field of battle while swinging a weapon at a worthy adversary. It's worth 2 glory. It's a duel, so you score it in the end phase if you've got 2 or more surviving friendly enemy fighters with 1 or more Blood Tithe counters, and those fighters are within 1 hex of no one's territory. There are a few cards in this set that focus on no one's territory. I found it really interesting. Again, it's situational, but if you're careful with your board presence and the abilities drawing everyone into you and holding them in place, it's very, very easy to achieve. And here is number 3, A Worthy Offering. And it may be my favourite. It's the simplest to score. It's not worth a lot, but the quotation and what it is, I just love. May my skull be placed atop the pyramid of those I have slain in his name. And it's scored in the end phase if your warband has 2 or more Blood Tithe counters. Simple, worth 1, but the quotation alone and the art is just phenomenal. Again, Khorne doesn't care who dies as long as it's worthy. Moving on now to my favourite upgrades that are available to the Gorechosen of Dromm. There's some really tasty ones, but I've just picked 3 of my favourites that I absolutely loved, and I will share them with you now. So for the first of my upgrades, I have started with Final Frenzy, which may be one of my favourites of all the cards. It is fantastic. So this fighter cannot be taken out of action. This effect does not prevent damage from being dealt. And at the end of the action phase, which is after all the activations, break this card. When this card is broken, this fighter is taken out of action. Okay, so if you keep this until the 3rd and final action phase, so there'll be no rounds after that, you can basically make a fighter near enough immortal for that entire turn. If used in conjunction with other spells, like the Domain spell that makes everyone charge, and you ram Gorehulk forward and say, come at me, you basically have someone who has to be charged, who is basically not going to die from it until the end of all the activations. It's pretty strong and really, really fun. Moving on to number 2, White Hot Anger. Restricted to Herax. gives them basically the reaction. Use this after a friendly fighter's successful range 1 or range 2 attack action. Enemy warbands treat hexes adjacent to this fighter as lethal hexes in addition to other hex types. The effect persists until the end of the round. So basically, it turns Herax into someone like Thundrick. Gives them lethal hexes all around him if he successfully hits somebody. I think that's pretty cool. And can be pretty strong if you're used in conjunction with the having to charge and board positioning. It's really cool. And my third and final favourite upgrade, Powerful Hatred. This fighter is considered to be supporting a fighter for a friendly attack action made within X hexes, where X is the number of Blood Tithe counters on this fighter card. You can rack up Blood Tithe counters really quickly, especially against some of the bigger warbands or like the resurrecting warbands like the Exiled Dead. You can rack up Blood Tithe counters like nobody's business. So you can get someone that's tanky like Gorehulk to have maybe like 5 or 6 Blood Tithe counters and be supporting from halfway across a board. This card is very, very strong and I like it. And it's just fun. So we come to the end and my final thoughts for the Gorechosen of Dromm. And to be honest, I'm a new player to Underworld, but I have played a lot of the warbands that exist. And I love this game. And I absolutely adore Khorne. It's my favourite god, it's my favourite in 40k, it's my favourite in AOS. And it's been done dirty quite a few times, but not this time. Oh no, not this time. This time these guys are real. I have tested these guys on the tabletop multiple times now. You will see a battle report coming out within the next hour that showcases not their best game, but still a very strong showing, and you'll see just how tough they are. These guys are the real deal. They are strong. They play very similar to Morgoth's Crushers, but there's more trickery and there's more control of the board. It's very, very strong, combined with the fact that they hit like trains and they have got ways of controlling the way other people play. This is a very strong warband. There's not been a decent Chaos warband yet. There's definitely not been a decent Khorne one yet, but this is up there. I think this could be quite up there with like Morgoth's Crushers and the other S tier bands. I think it's very, very strong. I think it's very, 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 very strong. I've tested it against some bigger warbands. Tested against the Exiled Dead. I've tested it against Kainan's Reapers. I've tested it against the Hexblade Hunters, and these guys are tough as nails. They hit hard, they take names, they bleed for their gods, and they do it really, really well. I think this is a big warband. Very, very strong, very, very powerful. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some nerfs on them because I think they're a little bit too strong. But I'm not going to complain right now because right now I am just having fun. My test partners absolutely hated playing against them, which kind of makes me a little bit sad, but also kind of makes me really, really happy. But yeah, I mean, we had a turn 2 board wipe completely from them up against the Hexbane Hunters, up against the Starblood Stalkers. That's them. But up against them, my opponent quit turn 2 just because I was already way ahead on glory. They are very strong. They are very, very strong, and I absolutely adore them. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it wherever you get your Underworld stuffs on social media, and you can share YouTube videos. Please feel free to share and tell your friends about this channel. It'd be really good to check. It would be really good for you guys to check it all out. We will be bringing you more and more Underworlds content as we go because we absolutely adore Underworlds. But thank you for spending the time with me. I hope this review helped you. I hope it makes you go out and buy this warband because everybody needs a little bit of the Gorechosen in their lives. Anyway, if you guys check down the links down below, you check out our sponsors, our affiliates, and most importantly our Patreon. Our Patreon helps this channel grow. It helps this channel be better. If you guys want to see more content from us, please give it a little consideration to going and sponsoring us. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope this helps. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.
War Drum Bat Rips, the Sins of War.